The phone just rang. Hi there, lovelies. Hello there. I'm hanging up on people. I hope that wasn't a client that just called. I'm hoping it was another one of those spam calls that we get all day long. Hi there, lovelies. It's me, Donna Hoffman, the interior design advocate. How are you? And there's Katie throwing the phone out the front door. We just came back from a meeting, so our timing is a little crazy. Hi there, Insta lovelies. Got to dial it down here. All right, every Tuesday, why are we here with you at the Interior Design Advocate? Well, we're always here with you at the Interior Design Advocate, but every Tuesday, we stop what we're doing here at the luxury design studio that I own and run, where we're doing, new builds and multi-room projects and renovations and so forth, big projects. And then we stop what we're doing here so we can come out, put a pin in our activities at the design studio to come out here and talk to you, my Design Diva lovelies. And we love to talk to you about design. We love to be able to add more joy and peace to your life through the power of design. And when I can empower you to do more as a design lover, as a DIYer working on your own home, when I can empower you to do more, get better results in your home through my online courses, through my workshops, my free workshops, through my Insta lives, through my Facebook lives, I feel that that's part of my service. I love that idea. In fact, you'll see on my Facebook, if you're joining me through Facebook, you'll see that in my description, I said that it is so good to be here with you, particularly now, particularly this time in this week, taking a break from the world where things can get kind of dicey and difficult. You read the news headlines and everything going on with the virus right now, and I hope you and your loved ones are well and safe. It's so good to be able to just connect with you, my design lovelies, my design girlfriends, my design students, and to take you a little further on a journey of respite and relaxation that will end in more joy and beauty in your life. So, what are we talking about right now? Every week, we select a different topic to talk about, and these are things that we get questions about. I get DM'd about things. We have emails coming in asking us to add topics and such, or you just ask for things during a live. And one of the questions I've gotten a lot lately is about this maximalist trend. So I thought I'll do some little Facebook Live chatting on it. Even though it's always good to have visuals, we don't bring visuals out during our Facebook Lives. We reserve those for when I'm teaching a workshop or an online course. But let's talk a little bit about that design trend, which some of you are wanting to dip your toe into and some of you are just curious about. And in my description, I called it the trend within the trend. Why? Because the maximalist trend can actually be done with a certain flavor of design style. You can do maximalism with a boho edge. You can do maximalism with a bit of a rustic edge. You can do maximalism with a bit of a modern edge. You can do maximalism with kind of a Parisian edge, or maximalism with an English edge. So that's why I call it a trend within a trend. So what is maximalism? Well, to start at the beginning, maximalism is sort of the opposite of minimalism, right? In minimalism, less is best, less is more. If you are a lover of transitional design style, you are probably used to, in general, a more controlled number of colors and patterns in the same space. Maybe you're used to 3 to 4, maybe 5 patterns, depending upon, the scale of them. That's something different I teach during my DGS, my Decorating Genius course. That's a whole other conversation, how to put together a fabric plan and mix different fabrics and so forth. But let's say you are thinking of 3, maybe 4 fabrics in a room as a transitional person. And if you're a minimalist, you might be doing, 1 to 2 patterns at most in different fabrics. Well, in maximalism, opposite. Just keep turning in the opposite direction with maximalism. With maximalism, the more pattern, the better. Be very liberal with pattern. Maybe 5, 6, 7 patterns, 8 patterns in a room. I'm talking large scale, small scale, mid scale, throw in a little bit of animal print, maybe 2 different animal prints. You can really go for it. And you also, with maximalism, want to think about not only a bold use of pattern, but with maximalism, you want to think of a bold use of color. A lot of color, or a lot of a particularly strong color with other colors added to it. What do I mean? Maybe you're doing a maximalist guest room and you love the color red. Well, maybe you're going to do, you know, a red, you know, carpet on the floor, and then there's a lacquered red wall, and then there's a lot of other things that are going to that room as well. So maximalists might splash a lot of a single color everywhere, but an intense color, or they might add a lot of color. So for example, maybe you have, you know, yellow walls, but you're going to do blue window coverings, right? And then you've got this really amazing blue and yellow and red something and tan and cream Persian carpet, you know, in the center of the floor. With maximalism, it's about layering a lot against a lot. So it's not only the liberal use of pattern, the liberal use of color, the liberal use of texture, where there's a lot of juxtaposition. And it's almost kind of, sometimes I'll say to my window work room when I'm designing for a private client, stop me here. Make sure, I want to make sure I'm not over designing. With maximalism, you want to keep designing. You want to keep adding another flourish, another element. You can think about juxtaposing fabrics in such a way that you might take a pair of armchairs that are seated side by side. They don't have to be the same chair in the same pattern, or maybe they'll be the same chair in a few different patterns placed on the chair. So there's one pattern cloth on the inside seat back, and then another pattern cloth on the chair inside seat. And then there's a third pattern on the outside back of the chair. So do you see what I mean about just layering more and more and more? Some people would use the word loud. It can get kind of loud, and it can. It doesn't have to, but it can. So when I'm talking about a lot of layering of textures, get the furs and the velvets and the cottons and the metals and the woods, and you just want to keep making things look very collected, not matched at all. If anything, you want to think eclecticism that can sometimes get almost quirky in places. Now, am I speaking in extremes in places? I am, but most maximalist interiors will have some element of some of these elements that I'm talking about. So if you wanted to sum maximalism up in a phrase, it's not more is less, it's more is more. Right? So maximalists go over the top. They just keep designing and adding. There's a lot of art on the wall. There's a lot of art in the space. A great way to start a maximalist space, let's say you want to do something interesting in a maximalist way in a living room. You know, a great way to start is with either your rug, a lot of color, a lot of pattern, or with your wall, very, very strong wall color, or a really strong wallpaper. Patterned, maybe floral, something, and then you move the rest of the room out of it from there. You want to think about connecting your furniture pieces as you would in a lot of other design styles, transitional being one of them. You want to connect your furniture pieces with some connective element, whether it's the shape that is being kind of whispering to one another, whether it's a color that's whispering to one another, whether it's a pattern whispering to one another. But with this eclectic maximalist viewpoint, it will help you if you try to take at least something to connect those furniture pieces so that there's some jump from furniture piece A to B to C to D. And then window treatments in maximalism. So if you think about that transitional interior, the farmhouse interior, the window treatments are very, very simple panels, maybe simple Romans, you know, in a Roman shades, you know, in a traditional or transitional environment. With maximalism, you're seeing swags and jabots, and you're seeing, you know, tie backs, and you're seeing, you know, fringes, maybe like a ball fringe trim or a tassel fringe trim run at the leading edge of a window treatment. So again, it's about more detail, more layering. It's like, with a maximalist viewpoint, you want the eye, no matter where it sweeps, no matter where it scans, you want it to land on a piece of eye candy and go, oh, that's interesting, look at that. So maximalism is an interesting trend. And as I've taught about trends, if you've ever seen one of my workshops on trends, there's never any one trend that is the only thing that's happening in design, which is the good news. There are always multiple trends that are developing at any given time. And right now, there are a number of trends that continue to develop and be relevant. There's Modern is always relevant. We're still seeing a big farmhouse moment, rustic glam, farmhouse glam, Hollywood glam, which is all those like really glittery kind of spaces. Transitional is still happening. Traditional is still happening. Scandi modern, I think I already said modern. So how does maximalism fit in? Well, when you look at design trends, lovelies, you'll see that the pendulum keeps swinging, right? So with, CB2, Crate and Barrel 2, and, that whole Scandi modern feeling, who else? Like IKEA, right? These very minimalist kind of interiors that were gaining a lot of steam. Well, that's like a pendulum swing to one direction. So is it any wonder that some designers somewhere started to say, hey, you know what? Enough of that. Let's try some of that. And then you go in a different direction. So the interesting thing about maximalism, as I said, is that it can start to bleed into or lend a flavor to some other design styles. I've seen maximalists done well in, like I said earlier, in kind of a rustic manner. And I've seen maximalism done really well in a very sophisticated kind of Parisian classic kind of manner. I've seen maximalism done well in a modern manner. So that's why I call it the trend within the trend. It is a lot to digest. It's a lot to take in. And depending upon your design fingerprint is how you uniquely relate to things like line and color, form, shape, pattern, placement, big concept that I teach. Just got a heart on that one, or a thumbs up. It's a big concept that I teach. It's an amazing concept and process I teach inside my Decorating Genius course. So if you are such that, if you're like me, and you really don't like, can't tolerate a lot of pattern on the floor, maximalism probably isn't going to be your thing if you need a lot of wide open spaces and clean, easy gesture, very clean spaces. I'm getting a lot of hearts on that one. So it's important to know who you are. But if you're a design lover and you're looking in your design magazines or flipping around on Instagram, chances are you're seeing some of these spaces thinking, wow, are swags and jabots back? Wow, there's so much pattern. Has this designer lost her mind or his last few marbles? No, they're probably playing in that maximalist aesthetic, okay? So if you have questions about the maximalist design trend or about another design trend, I'm happy to answer your question. I'll take any question I can, provided that I don't have to see a picture to be able to answer you well. And I'm also not going to take a question if I think, I'll say it that way. If I think I need to see a picture to answer you well, I'm not going to take your question. Next week, I want you to know what we're talking about. We're talking about, window treatments were very popular last week when we talked about them. So we're doing another one. Next week, we're talking about the window treatment blitz. Custom versus ready-made. What's the trade-off? What are the trade-ups and what are the cheaters? And we'll be talking about that next week. And I just want to let you know, as we talk about these different trend styles right now, I don't want you to be afraid of design trends. Know that they continue to move and morph. Takes a good 10 years for a trend to really reach its peak, its pinnacle, and even then it doesn't generally die a quick death. It can start to morph into something else, just as farmhouse morphed into farmhouse glam, right? So I don't want you to panic thinking, oh my gosh, I'm not maximalist and I never think I will be maximalist. Am I going to be out? No, there are always multiple trend styles that are relevant and developing at any given time. And if you are thinking, gosh, I would just love to completely revamp a room with accessories, I don't want to spend a lot of money on design, purchasing right now, I hope you'll take a look at my online course, Design CPR, How to Create Perfect Rooms. It's all about accessorizing like a boss, no matter your design style, and really polishing and reinventing a space using accessories. It's pretty killer. That's a terrible word. I shouldn't use that. It's pretty phenomenal. How about that? And so if you want, you can go, I posted a link for the product page. Before you do any sort of purchasing, head to the blog page on my website at the Interior Design Advocate so you can find a current 20% coupon to lower the cost of the Design CPR course. Again, if you really want to do some quick facelifting, maybe you want to play with the maximalist design style, maybe you want to play with another design style. What I teach in that course goes across all design styles. So there it is. So let me take some questions. If you don't have questions, we'll wrap this early, which is a-okay here because I have more work to do here in the design studio. Okay, so let me see. Katie will be sending in questions from Insta if there are any questions. And hello and waves to all of my Insta lovelies. Love you guys. So glad you're here. And hello to all of my wonderful Design Divas here on Facebook Live. Okay, so Bunny is saying hi. So Cheryl, so's Jan, so's Jane, so's Linda. So, okay, hugs to all of you girls. Thank you for the hellos. Linda in Jean is saying that she loves maximalism. Very cool, Jean, you're a hipster. Jan is saying, can you have neutral walls and floor along with maximalism, i.e. pops of color throughout the room in a master bedroom? Jan, you absolutely can. So brilliant question from Jan. You know, can you borrow a fragrance of a trend into what you're doing? Maybe what Jan is describing sounds a little more like a transitional type of base, kind of like that little black dress, right? You've got the LBD cocktail dress, little black dress. You put on some really sexy long, you know, pendulum kind of earrings or chandelier earrings and really sexy strappy shoe and a really cool bright red, you know, handbag and, you know, maybe, I don't know, a Gucci belt across the hip. That's one look on that. Maybe a little too much. Nix the belt with everything else you just painted. That's one way to dress that. So different than if you wear your grandmother's pearls and a pair of black heels, right? So really depends on how you dress these spaces. So yes, Jan, you can certainly borrow from a number of trends, in this case, maximalism, as you say, you know what, I want to try to change the flavor of this room. I've got a good basic backdrop. And if I'm not mistaken, I think one of the bonuses in the Design CPR course, I believe we talk about how to take what accessories you want to add into your room to start to bring in a particular design flavor, trend flavor. So put that out there to you, Jan, because yes, you're in the right track. You can absolutely do it. Smelling a little animal print coming to, or sensing a little animal print coming to you in that mix, perhaps, Jan. All right, Angie is saying, do you think trends, do you think trends end up, I don't know what you're asking, Angie, because you posted it twice. I have a piece of hair in my mouth. That's weird. Okay, I don't know what you're saying, Angie, so finish the question. Do I think trends end up what? I don't know. What do you think Angie's saying? Do I think trends end up looking great? Yeah, I do. Angie, finish your question. Oh, what does Angie say towards the bottom?
To incorporate anything trendy because I feel it will be out of date.
Oh, I better look at this. Okay. Angie says, I'm hesitant to incorporate anything trendy because I feel it will be out of date in a short time. True. So Angie, that's a really good point. You know, there's a blogger, color expert whose work I really enjoy. And I agree with about 95% of what this very talented blogger says, but I don't agree with 100% of it. And one place where I differ is that I think to decide that any one color is classic and will never go out, I don't get it, because color is color. It just is. And it's what you do with the color that makes design look classic or trendy. So let's talk about the gray trend. It was so hot and heavy. It's still, gray is still out there. It's a color. But there was a moment where everything was gray, right? The furniture was grayed down and the walls were grayed down and the upholstery was all various shades of gray. And so that application of gray absolutely everywhere, yeah, that got a little trendy. So Angie, what I'd say to you is it's the use of the trend and how you use it, the elements of it, that will give you greater or lesser staying power. So for example, I was in a showroom with a client on Friday and we were looking at sofas, and the showroom owner and I were talking about his private label brand, and I said, David, I need this in a track arm. Let's shrink the arm from a 6-inch to a 5-inch. And I could have even gone, slimmer than that. Client wanted a 5, no problem. And he said, gosh, I don't know when I've appointed a blah, blah, blah arm. I said, I know, I haven't been appointing those for a while either. I said, but the track arm is always classic. It just seems to have a long life. That said, will it always be the thing? Well, not if you talk to the person who wants a kidney sofa in her home. So I think that if you go with pieces that you love, shapes that you love, colors that you love, and then in your more movable elements, and if you've ever read a blog, this is not a new topic, but new concept, and then on your more movable elements, that's where you add something kind of trendy. You put your trends into, you know, an accent chair, or your pillows, your throws, your artwork, your accessories, and you know, maybe not so much on the window coverings that you're doing custom because they're a few $1,000s. Do you know what I mean? Unless you have really deep pockets and you want to just say, you know what, when I get tired of it, I'll just redo it. So I get it, Angie, that there's this hesitation to jump into a trend, but then what do you do? Everything is a trend. Everything in every store that you're looking at right now represents some moment in some trend. So same thing with clothing. You know, we can walk around naked, or you can commit and say, okay, I got to buy a piece of clothing. So I would put your trendiest elements, Angie, on those most changeable elements. If that helps you at all, and if you have a more specific question to your already excellent first question, feel free to send that in. All right, I'm getting the hi sign from Katie that I have time for 2 more questions. Jan is saying, okay, I already said Jan's question. More hellos from people. Hello, Linda. Hello, Denise. Hello, Jen. Hello, Daphne. All right, Corinne is in California. Hello, hello. Sharon is saying, I'm hesitant. No, that Sharon is saying, if I'm layering a rug, is it okay for it to float, or do the standard rug rules apply? Okay, here's the thing, Sharon. Rugs serve a purpose unless it's in a foyer where it is simply a floating rug. If there's furniture around, that rug is serving a purpose, and that purpose where furniture is concerned is to ground the furniture and to connect it to what? To each other. That is why. That is the logic behind why your furniture only either needs to sit onto the rug, or the furniture, at least the front legs, need to be caught by the top of the rug. So I don't think it will ever look right to have a rug that is so small that it doesn't even catch your furniture, unless you are throwing down a hide, you know, in that, as if, you know, that natural hide shape. That's where you can get along with a scatter rug look, where the furniture is not all sitting on that, at least all the front legs, right? But other than that, I think it's just gonna look like you ran out of money, or the rug you liked wasn't in the right size. So those are my 2 cents for you there, Sharon. And I will tell you that as a high-end designer, we would never do it. And why do I mention that we're a high-end designer? Because all the stuff that you are pinning on Pinterest and loving on House, all the looks that you're trying to emulate, yeah, you may not be spending that on your interiors. Big whoop, who cares? The point is, that's the look that you're after. So I want to tell you that we are designing in that top shelf end, and your job as a design diva is to use design strategy really well, and to spend your budget, whatever it is, really well to emulate the look that you're loving on whatever you're pinning on Pinterest, whatever you're loving on House. Sometimes I'll get a frustrated email, why don't designers show, you know, small homes or small rooms? And we'll say, well, that's not who's hiring us. We're showing the rooms of the people who are hiring us, and it's your job then to interpret it into something that you think would really be great for you. So I don't know how I got on that tangent. It's been a rough couple of days. Anyway, Val is saying, oh, this looks like a good question. Val is saying, I live in a 1929 colonial. That's why I thought it was a good question. I like the 1929 colonial thing, with radiators and eaves, small rooms with doorways and windows, not open or great flow. Although I'm traditional at heart, I've latched on to more transitional pieces with good scale and straight lines. Val, you're a wise design diva. I like where you're going. Same thing with art. Same thing with window treatments, few accessories and light walls. Val, this sounds really good. I'm ready to come over and have tea or vodka tonic with you. I can't imagine ever going back to maximalist decor in this house. Am I right to be thinking that way? Well, Val, I don't know you, other than I love the fact that you're here with me, making you a design diva. I'm going to guess that with your design fingerprint, you need quiet around you, and you need a sense of space around you. And if that is, among other things, but if that's true of Val, maximalism would be the last place I would tell you to go. It would be like nails on a chalkboard, bad for you. And I'm going to tell you something right now, Val, and everybody else listening and watching. As a designer, I have to go in a million different directions for a million different clients. there's a color that I have a client who loves. I design with it all the time. I think it's a great color to design with. I can't live with it. It is way too strong for me. So it's possible to enjoy on paper a trend like maximalism and say, hey, that's really interesting. Couldn't live with it, but yeah, that's really interesting. So Val, I think you are perfect. I like you just the way you are. Don't change a thing. You're in a good place there. Okay, Renak8 on Insta, how are you, doll, is saying, how are you, doll? I sound like a 900-year-old lady. How are you, girlfriend, Renak8? How much does it cost to hire a designer? Millions of dollars. This is such a good question. This is such a good question. Katie, am I going to start crying when I answer this question? Katie's hoping not.
Go ahead.
Okay, she said go ahead. She's here for me. She's got tissues. Yeah, it's not inexpensive to hire a designer. If you are somebody who is looking for the lowest cost option, you want to go on your own. You want to go to catalogs. You want to shop it out. That is not who hires a designer. The people who hire designers are people who, no judgment here, just describing. These are people who generally look at their home as an extension of themselves. You might say, check, got that. People who really love the way an interior looks. They want it to feel wonderful and look amazing and be life enhancing. Check again. People who hire designers recognize that what they want, the look that they want, they could not possibly do on their own. They don't have the resource connections, the vision, or the time or the skill set to do it on their own. That's who hires designers. The best clients in the world allow designers to do our job, and they allow us to take them through the process. The worst clients in the world are those who are really DIYers at heart, and they want to kind of do it themselves, but they want the designer to kind of coach them. I try to stop those kinds of clients from ever even hiring us. I think it's a bad combo because the way a DIY design diva sees design and the way I see design, very different. The way I look at rhythms in a room, harmonies in a room, you're saying, what? Rhythms and harmonies? Yes. You're probably not even thinking of those, and why should you? You haven't been trained to do that. So I'm going to answer you, Renak. I know this sounds like I'm not. So the people that are hiring designers tend to be people with discretionary income who want a particular look that they feel that they can't do on their own. They want access to showrooms that they can't get into on their own. They want very custom, bespoke things that they don't know how to do on their own. They have budgets that will support working in to-the-trade goods, to-the-trade furnishings, rugs, window coverings. These things are never going to land at the same price as what you see out at retail because they're so custom. So what does it cost to hire a designer? Well, the national average for hourly work for designers in the United States, I know I have people watching this from all over the country, the national average is, according to all the literature, is $150 per hour. That means there are some people who charge more than that. There are some people who charge less than that. You will see design rates as low as $85 an hour in certain regions, up to $300 an hour in other regions. It depends on region of the country, city versus suburb, major city versus smaller city. Where it gets really dicey is, you know, a designer who's charging $100 an hour, if it takes her 70 hours to complete a project, whereas a designer who does it at $150 an hour but is more efficient and has, you know, bang out processes, and she can do that job in, you know, 35 hours or 40 hours. Yeah, you might have somebody at a higher rate, but they're working to greater efficiency. So it really varies by region, by designer. I'm not trying to skirt you here. Generally speaking, hiring a designer is not a $2,000 thing. To have one of those rooms designed that you see on Pinterest, house those, you know, gorgeous spaces. The more furniture there is in this space, the more customization in this space, the more time it's going to take the designer to do. Design is a devil in the details sport, and design absolutely takes longer than people think it should, thought it would. It does, and the way you will know that is if you're trying to do it on your own, thinking, good grief, I'm doing this part-time on the side while I'm working and raising my kids, and you know, I've been working on this living room for the lawn forever, and it's still not accessorized, and I still have nothing hanging on the walls. Designers, they get in there and they do it all. So the spaces that you see online for those Pinterest rooms that you love, I'm going to guess that depending upon, again, who the design team was that did it, the design fees on those rooms, probably about $6,000 in certain regions of the country, probably 8,000 or 9,000 in others, maybe as little as 4,000 to 5,000, maybe 3,500 to 4,500 in other small towns. So I don't know, Renak, where you're writing in from. So you just need to have a real earnest discussion with your designer that you're considering, saying, what do you think my project will cost? Here's where it gets dicey. And this is why I was crying over the weekend. I let a client down last week in a way I never have before. I completely underestimated what the time charge would be on her project. And for a number of reasons, we ran into some speed bumps and the time charges went up. The client was understandably very upset with me, and I really felt like I let them down. It's so hard to bid a custom design project because you never know who is this client and what are they going to like, and what is this blank room going to need versus this blank room, and am I going to find it, and am I going to find it at the right price? It's sort of like saying to a caterer, I want you to make up a whole new dinner for this dinner party that you've never done before with this other, dinner party, and tell me what it's going to cost. Well, before we really drill down into those menu specifics and how many people are at your dinner party, definitely, that is kind of hard to nail that. So, so I think a good designer, an ethical designer, is going to try to give you as realistic a bid as possible. Some designers do work in fixed fee. When you work with fixed fee, I have a colleague in Dallas, she's all about fixed fee. She wants to have a fixed number assigned to what her project cost will be for fees for a client, but with that comes a lot of constraint. Okay, you want a fixed fee? You have one selection round here, you have one selection round on lamps, you pick it, you don't like it, tough beans, there it is. You have one reselection round, sorry, you don't like it, tough beans, there it is. If you want extra selection rounds, you can have them, but you're going to fall out of your fixed fee. So fixed fee is there's a different type of risk involved with fixed fee and much more limited parameters. So passionate topic. So sorry for the long answer. Hope that helped you, Renak 8. Let me see if there's anything else. Dina Carroll is saying, is in the maximalist style, is it also about having many accessories, or is that just clutter? Well, Dina, if the accessories are not purposeful in their selection and purposefully styled out, something I actually teach in my design CPR course, it will look like absolute clutter. So maximalist interiors do tend to have a lot of accessories, but it's what you do with them, okay? So if accessories are well styled, it won't feel like clutter. But if you are a minimalist and you're in a maximalist interior, even a beautifully done one, you're going to think, please open the window, get me the hell out of here. There's too much going on in here. More hellos. Jane is saying very helpful. I'm so glad. Sharon's saying very helpful. I'm so glad, Sharon. Val is saying the vodka tonic is waiting. Val, you have no idea. Gin and tonic from Jane. I'll go see both of you. I just like my drinks really weak. It's a flaw of mine. Can I please repeat what the accessory blog was and where to find it? The accessory blog? I don't have an accessory blog. I have an online course called Design CPR, Corinne. Take a look at the description on this Facebook Live, and that's where you'll see something. Oh, is there a blog? Oh, there's a blog about somebody posing as me on our team.
Steve, he just sent the link to the blog.
It was Steve. Steve pretending to be me. Thank heavens that's the only time he pretends to me. He does not put on any of my clothing, to my knowledge. Jan is saying, thanks for your help. You're welcome, Jan. Big hug to you. And what was the blog title, please? I don't even know what blog we're talking about. I think you're talking to Steve, thinking it's me, but I'm out here talking. So there it is. All right. That's it. I think that's all the questions that we have. So lovelies. Next week, 4 p.m. Eastern, we're going to be here talking about window treatments, the good, the bad, and the ugly of custom versus ready-made, the ups, the downs, the trade-ups, the trade-offs, and a couple of cheater moves as well. I have loved being here with you. If you missed any part of this Insta Live or Facebook Live, which frankly, we got into some good stuff. We got into design fees and trending and how trends work. find us on YouTube. Better yet, subscribe to us on YouTube because we put out all kinds of fabulous video for you, to include things that have visuals attached to them, or I'll take you into a showroom. So you can find us at the Interior Design Advocate. And listen, lovelies, if you are not following us on Insta, what are you doing? You're missing the party, truly. Find us at IDH Design on Instagram, at IDH Designs on Instagram if you're not already following us there. Okay, well, that was great. I loved talking to you. I loved being here with you with all the crap that is going on in the world right now. The news headlines, this horrible, the virus, blah, blah, blah. I just so treasure our time together. I love being able to help you to beautify your lives, create more peace and grace and joy in your home, in your lives through the beauty of design. So thank you for letting me in your life in this way. I just love it. So hugs to you, and I will see you next Tuesday, 4 p.m. for Window Treatment Blitz, custom versus ready-made, the ups, the downs, the trade-ins, the trade-offs, and the tax. Okay, see you guys. Hi, this is Donna. Thanks so much for watching. And if you like this video, please hit the like button and comment below so I know what you think. And don't forget to subscribe to the Interior Design Advocates channel so you don't miss any of our great content.